With me, I have an author in studio, and she'll be telling us more about her book that is talking about lifestyle, but also a lot in there. Now, the book is called Garden to Guts. A very interesting title right there. Now, we're talking about a journey in this book, someone talking about a journey and experience of the joys, sharing experiences of food and cooking, but also what does that include? What does that illustrate? What are the revelations that are in there? She tells her story after years of battling chronic illness and all that as a result of food and gut-related issues. Now, this is something that out there, or hearing the topic, you will be like, what is happening? But gladly, we do have the author here, Mrs. Dorine Mwesigwa, who is with me this morning to talk more about this book. Dorine, you're most welcome, and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. Now, we want to understand, how did you come out with this title of the book, and how does that relate to what you're talking about in this book?
So, in this book, I speak about the gut-related issues that I had. Okay. Like from very early on as a child, I suffered chronic illness of constipation. I was constantly constipated. From very early on at the age of 6, my mom was constantly giving me laxatives, water, vegetables. Nothing was working. So I went on I grew with that problem into my 20s, 30s, and into my 40s as well. And then I thought there must be a solution to this. So I started playing around with my diet, and then realized that when I would remove things like milk, when I would remove things like cheese, basically lactose-related dietary supplements. Then I realized that I would then feel better. So I started playing around with my diet like that, and that's when I realized that I was lactose intolerant. So it took me on the quest of writing this book, Garden to Gut. I went on the research of how food can actually affect us as human beings. And that's how I come up with this title, Garden to Gut.
Well, an interesting one. And I think most of us might not be aware that you could actually have illnesses from food, just the food you're talking about. And we have doctors, nutritionists that usually come out to tell us, don't eat this, eat this. But then again, you think they're just saying, and sometimes we don't want to take the doctor's orders. But this is a serious issue. And it does bring out a lot of questions, health concerns that we should all be concerned about. And we want you to take us more through what you now write in the book and how you're going chapter by chapter, but also do you reveal some of the approaches that other people can learn from getting into this book, and maybe some of what you think could have been done earlier that now everyone can pick from with reading this book and understand when to get started?
I realized that not one size fits all. We are all different. So I think and I believe strongly that someone needs to start with playing around with what works for them. Because what works for me might not work for you, or the other. So what I do is, when I'm doing my research, I tend to now look at the foods in their forms. Say, for instance, vegetables. We know very well that vegetables are very kind to the gut. Those are very helpful in the sense that when people eat vegetables, it helps with, like it softens whatever is going on in there, So you don't get problems with toileting, if I may put it that way. And then drinking a lot of water, I talk about that. I talk about foods like nuts. I talk about all sorts of foods, basically. But what I really, really would encourage people to do is to play around with foods on their own, That's what I really
learn with experience, because
exactly.
I think it's also something like try out this. If it doesn't work for you,
yes.
then you're able. But also it brings in the medical aspect.
Yes.
What if in you trying to try out, you again get into more medical complications? How is that? You know, what are some of the approaches from your experience that, you know, someone trying to play around with that issues,
yes.
they can also avoid certain actions that could actually get them worse?
Yes, obviously try and error will come with problems.
Yeah.
It comes with things to do with complications. For instance, when I was trying out with trying to remove the lactogen, I come from the western part of my country. Every time we used to visit Mbarara, as a way of a welcome, they would give us a gourd of milk. Every time I drank a lot of that milk, I found that it irritated my bowels. So it's a try and error. When I removed those supplements from my diet, I found that I got better. But when I put other things, when I replaced them with others, I also didn't feel that much better because those were not working for me. So I guess what I'm trying to say is playing around with the foods might not necessarily work immediately. Yeah. But in the end, you get there.
Okay.
So I encourage people to still do it, whether they get problems or not, because in the end, you do finally get what works for you. I can't sit here and encourage everybody, but what I can say really is vegetables are key. They are really key because those really did work for me. Yeah. You know.
Well, that's the book, Garden to Gut, and of course explaining much more of what you can try out, but also look into what works for you in terms of diets, but keeping in concern also the health aspect of it. Now, she had her experience, and from that experience, she was able to write about it, but also give you more of a broader spectrum of what we could be looking at. Now, Dorine has also, you have authored another book that is out there, and of course that is more to talk about the resilience of what we go through in life, but also the hope right there. What kind of inspiration are you bringing into the book, especially when you talk about resilience and hope? How does that bring in the book aspect of it? And is that also within your experience? Is it a memoir or something that you've also included, things like fiction or imagination?
So my writings are entirely based on experience, personal lived experience, passion. I write from a place of what I have personally gone through. So in the book, Ayanigo Mom, I write about the problems that I faced because I made terrible choices. I know I did, you know. Yeah. I did make terrible choices that took me down a bad road. And I talk about the bad choices that I made, the problems that came with those bad choices in all the three countries that I lived, which is Germany, the UK, and Uganda. I talk about how I encountered them, how I experienced them, and how I finally made it out of there. That is what I talk about in this book. But there is a happy ending to the book because I finally got out of that gutter. Yeah. And
in the book, Ayanigo Mom, you talk about being able to overcome, yes, and somehow bring out being a better and a wiser person. I like that part. Yeah. Most of the experiences do teach us to be better and to be wiser. Yeah. But I think there is someone out there who is now looking into all these books, and they would want an inspiration from that, to, especially to the young writers that are upcoming, trying to struggle. And you've had experience, like you said, for you moving from Uganda to the UK, to Germany, then back to the UK. Yeah. Some of that experience for you as a writer, what has it been for you, and what can young writers pick up on?
So I believe that if someone is really passionate about, well, I'm not very sure what other people want to write about, because I write from a place of passion, a place of wanting to help other people, learn from their personal experiences. I would obviously encourage them to go out. It's not easy. For instance, this particular book, I'm very, very vulnerable in this book because I tell it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I didn't just wake up one morning and say, here we are, this is a book. Yeah. First of all, I journal a lot. So this writing comes out of journaling over years and years. But the day I wake up and say, today I think I need to put that story out there, that was the day I knew that I was going to make it out there. Because is it easy for you to put your story out there, to put all your rags out there? It's not. No, but I do that in this book. And this book is very relatable. So if someone feels brave enough to write a story about themselves and be able to tell it all, vulnerability, people relate with that. That's why they can't come out themselves. So I would encourage someone, if they feel like they would like to do something like that, it's brave, but it's also a way to heal you. So I would encourage people to go for that.
Well, that's a good encouragement, and obviously I know that with experience, if you're writing about yourself, you're telling a story that could actually relate with someone out there going through the same thing. Yeah. And that would help them also overcome and say, if this person is out there talking about it, then I think it's okay to deal with this. Yeah. But however, we'll also look at the challenges that come with writing. Yeah. Now, would you speak, well, in your own experience, if you've had a little bit of challenges in your writing journey, and how are you able to deal with that?
Actually, that's a brilliant question, and I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
The first time this book went online, because my books are accessible online on Amazon, I read a terrible, something all authors shouldn't do. Don't read your reviews. I read a terrible review. Yeah. And for me, that was crushing, because that was my book, it was out there. But I think someone with ill intentions wanted to bring me down. I'll say stay headstrong. By the time I could put that content out there, because this book, I tell about how I fell pregnant when I was younger, how I was married twice and got divorced. People don't talk about such things. People bring a good story on Facebook. Oh, this is how we are. This is how happy we are. I put it in there. And I tell of how I finally made it, how I've brought up 5 beautiful children, how I've got some children who finished uni, and some are I've got one who's finished university, 2 are at university. You look on the brighter side. Yeah. As an author, don't look at the bad side, because at the end of the day, I can't sugarcoat it. Yeah. It's going to be that way. So if you really want to come out and do what you've got to do, don't worry about the naysayers. Go for it.
But also they talk about the reviews, something about reviews that normally doesn't sit well, I think, with every writer. Yes. But there are positive reviews that do come along, except the negatives are way too much. And, yes. And people will always criticize. They will pick up on your experience and make it look like you shouldn't have gone through that, yet you had, no grasp of what was happening at that point. But the fact that you're able to come out and speak about it, that should speak a lot. And I think that's where people who do reviews actually get it wrong. But we've also had a growing culture here in Uganda about book clubs. And I think this is something that has become like a safe haven for writers and readers as well that get engaged. I don't know if you are part of a book club or some of those organizations that, you have writers come together and they're able to address some of these so that, you get into a positive way, even when you're writing.
I was a very quiet writer because for me, everything was sort of hidden until it then came to the light. Yeah. What I did is, when I compiled my content and I knew that I was ready to put my book out there, I then started to find coaches to work with, life transformational coaches, because at first I was writing for me. I didn't think I was going to publish the book. I thought, okay, I'm going to write this book, put it document it, and just know it's my piece. But let me tell you something about naysayers. They're cowards. They can't do it. Yeah. And they themselves are suffering those problems. And by them coming and commenting badly like that, just know something is changing in them. They're healing. They're going to turn around and congratulate you one day. One time I was doing a live broadcast on Facebook, and somebody commented something horrible. And I said to them, you know what? Whatever it is that is breaking your heart or is crushing you, may it heal right now, because I know you're in pain somewhere.
Yeah.
A day later, I received a message in my inbox. That person was saying, in fact, I'm in problems, I'm in trouble, I'm so sorry for that comment. So those people, they're troubled.
It's projected pain.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
there you go. So me, I believe that, go for it. The writers, you asked about the book clubs.
The book clubs, yeah.
Yeah, I never joined any book clubs because my writing came out quietly. It comes from places of pain. That was a lot of pain in there. The young mother, and then when I went to a country that I couldn't speak the language, Germany, I struggled a bit there until I had to pick that up. Then I moved back to the UK. I kept moving.
Yeah.
You know, that comes from a place of pain as well. The gut-related situations, you know, my tummy, my dieting, and all of that. So when someone writes her content coming from that place, well, when I did, because I'm speaking for myself, I didn't really, I was concentrating, I was in my own little world. I never joined any book clubs.
Well, but look what came out. A very inspiring story, and of course something relatable that I know a lot of people reading this book would get to understand the importance of speaking out, first of all, but also bringing out a story that could be inspiring. Now, as we move to conclude, Dorine, there are people out there who want to get your books.
Yes.
You say they're on Amazon, but how else can they get the books? Are there also hard copies or online copies as well?
So yesterday I was graced with the opportunity to do a book launch, sort of a media launch for these two books. And I believe that Miss Kiza, the lady that who prepared me for that, is going to take some copies to the bookstores here. Nevertheless, we've got all these books accessible on Amazon, online. That one there is also already an audio. It's accessible in audio form. So because not everybody is interested in sitting there and consuming an entire book. But you can just pop your audio on and listen to it when you're driving. Yes, so, however, I also do like coaching, especially for that. So I've got the coaching book for that, for this book, where I can take someone through the whole entire coaching program, step by step by step. But they would have to reach me on my socials, and that's
What are the social media handles that they can reach you?
I've got Twitter on, and I've got Facebook as well.
That is Dorine Mwesigwa.
On Facebook, I'm Ego Mom. On Twitter, I'm Dorine Mwesigwa. They'll see me there. And yeah, on YouTube as well.
While spreading a message of how to make a difference in other people's life, but also giving examples that you could relate with. That is Dorine Mwesigwa. We're very happy to have you this morning. Thank you so much for coming through. And of course, right now we'll be taking a short break. When we get back, we'll be looking at more of the weather updates, but also what is in the entertainment, what else you can do over the weekend. We'll be back shortly.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kaso's my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions, and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number, and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Happiness comes to us in many places. It's It's in knowing the mosquito net keeps our children healthy. The wife having the support of her husband. It's in deciding together when to have a baby. And for some, focusing on what's important right now. So what's your happiness? Make the right health decisions to ensure happiness for you and your family.
It's better to foster respect instead of fear and pain.
Cause a good school equals a better life.
Raising voices.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda. This is Good Morning Uganda.